But we're also getting word that the president wants a sort of a top-to-bottom wholesale change in his senior staff, maybe jettisoning his entire senior staff, which would likely include Steve Bannon, Sean Spicer, Reince Priebus. Again, you've heard these rumors in the past, but they're taking on added momentum after an interview the president had with our own Janine Pereira when he was indicating that, maybe wholesale changes are in order. Now, we're going to be looking at that and what that could mean and whether a change in staff is something that would be constructive or something the president's critics have likened to rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. There's no middle ground here. To the Federalist, Bree Payton, GOP fundraiser, Noel Nickbour, former Trump Michigan campaign co-chair Lena Epstein. Lena, how real do you think these rumors are? We hear them percolate every time after a White House crisis or whatever you want to call it, but how real do you take these?
It's going to happen. It's just a question of when and at what magnitude. The president has been really forced into this situation, but it's important for him to act and to send a clear message to everybody that works for the administration that it's important to protect confidentiality, protect the administration's goals.
All right, Noel, you could go back and say much of this is of the president's own doing. He kind of keeps aides in the dark, and they have to come back afterwards and explain what he said. Not entirely, but this is always the rap. I guess you see in administrations when they try to deal with this sort of thing. Where's this going?
Oh my gosh!
This is actually
Noel first. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, when Lena said this is going to happen, my response to this is, are you kidding me? I mean, just as they've got a rhythm going. I mean, look at everything that Trump has said, and he's turned around and he's contradicted himself. I mean, I like Trump, don't get me wrong, but my God, the people that work for him have got to defend such strange and bizarre things. I think they're doing great, and I think a shakeup would be absolutely the worst thing to do, right, is when all these people have their stride. I'm sorry, but I'm taking a position to where I think they need to leave it status quo. My God.
You could argue if you're going to do something like this, Bree, now is the time to do it. It's taking away from all the other things the president wants to do. And speaking on Capitol Hill right now, even the serious incidents are always wrapped in this political intrigue. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely clear that the president doesn't trust his staff. The fact that he briefed his own staff about Comey's dismissal merely an hour before he broke the news himself, I think indicates that there are trust issues. And I think to suggest that they have a rhythm going and that the White House is running so smoothly really flies in the face of everything we know about the administration. I think it's very clear that there are a number of moles and leakers within the White House, and that's why President Trump is shifting gears and changes the story. And it feels like he needs to be so reactive and get on top of the story and do these interviews when really he doesn't. So I think, honestly, a staff shakeup is the smartest thing to do. I think he needs to dismiss and get rid of all the leakers. I think he needs to bring in people that he actually trusts, and I think he needs to get better surrogates.
Let's take him at face value that he is going to do something like this. Whether he gets rid of all the top senior staff, that's debatable. But wouldn't that mean, Lena, that they come back to haunt him? That, if you're jettisoned out there and fingered for the blame, you're going to be a thorn in the administration's side down the road, aren't you?
That's always a risk that the administration will run when replacing senior staff.
Right.
And at the end, the president will need to make those decisions to restore confidence in his and the team's ability to lead. I think that the lack of trust, I think the disorganization and the lessons learned are going to be very profound. There are so many lessons learned in these first few months, and I think that the folks that replace the senior staff that are currently in place will be able to draw upon the lessons learned and be able to better serve both the administration and the American people.
Do you think it's just a matter of getting the right person to do the job? For Ronald Reagan, it was later Howard Baker, the Tennessee senator, who brought some order and sensibility to a White House that was kind of veering, not out of control, but it was kind of wandering there. So that you need, as one of my guests put it, a COO type to sort of put discipline back in the White House. I think contingent on that, though, Noel, is the president listening to that COO, right?
Yes, you're right about that. But, I mean, you've got to look at the bumpy road that President Trump has had since he's taken office. And you've got to also look at the fact that, Spicer, Reince Priebus, these people have taken political bullets for him while he was running for president. I mean, they've got his back. They are proven. Look at all these people. You know, even I'm wondering now if the reason why he's thinking about even getting rid of them is because maybe he's feeling like their ratings are down. Because if you look at SNL, Steve Bannon is portrayed as the Grim Reaper, and you've got Sean Spicer as an angry Irish guy. I mean, maybe he's fearing that maybe the ratings aren't great. But that's a side
maybe
note.
the bloom is a little bit off that rose, or maybe he's responding to poll numbers. That they're always fleeting, and we always get into that.
True.
When we chat. But let me get your take, Bri, on the fact that these rumors are out there. Markets are advancing just the same. Now, there are a variety of reasons for that. Obviously, oil is a big contributor. But the other part of this might be the markets would welcome a shakeup. What do you think?
Well, I think, honestly, most of Americans outside of the Beltway really don't care about the Comey story. Axios had a great piece last week indicating that, you know, according to the Facebook interactions of normal, everyday Americans, this was honestly one of the least interesting moments of the president's history. So I think, you know, the markets are responding how they're responding, regardless of what's going on with this Comey investigation. I think the media is going to do what they do, throw temper tantrums. And I think, honestly, Donald Trump needs to learn, and his administration needs to learn how to not respond to them, right? Like, anytime you give a child, throwing a screaming child attention, they just keep screaming. I think he needs to learn to ignore that and push forward with the administration's goals and not be so reactive, but learn to be more proactive.
I will say this, sometimes you can't let him see you sweat. I always love those stories of Ronald Reagan, even John Kennedy. See that? Ladies, fair and balanced. They didn't like the way the media zinged them, and they didn't like the way it was a on-meter record that John Kennedy kind of, you know, shook his head and said he sounded more like Ted Kennedy than me. And Ronald Reagan, with the constant impressions of him that he kind of said personally to people he didn't like it, but he would never let on. George Bush Sr., of course, famous for enduring Dana Carvey's impressions, ultimately inviting him to a White House event. But publicly, you never let him see his sweat. Is the problem with this president, maybe as you see it, Lena, is that he does let folks see him sweat when he should just let it glide?
This is a very different administration than anything that we've seen before. This is a president that has offered candor and has offered an immediate message to the American people.
No, I know that, but he's also proven very thin skin, and he gets in that trap where people know how they can goad him, and he's goaded.
Yeah, but he's arguably somebody who speaks with candor and honesty, and that's what the American people want to hear. He's not a career politician. He's not somebody that has many years of a seasoned staff just to bring in and run the job.
Well, I'm just asking him to just hold back and not give his enemies the chance to pounce when he pounces on stuff that they say or comics joke about. Be above it. You're the president. Just let him keep guessing that you're bothering him or not.
Neil, he's not going to do it. He is not going to do it at all. Twitter is alive and well, and this guy, this is how he rolls, and we're going to have to get used to this. Not only are they going to see him sweat, they're going to see him sweat profusely.
Bri, do you buy that?
Yeah, I guess, you know, as an American, I think that we like to look to the office of the presidency and behold the president as someone who isn't just a mere mortal, right? I think that the institution that is the presidency isn't just about the person. I think the office is much larger than that, and I think that individual should be able to learn to grow into that role. And I think that Donald Trump is very capable of growing into that role, and I think that it would behoove himself to try a little bit harder.
Yeah, and it's still early, as you all indicated. Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
One of the